Have you ever woken up without explanation at 3 in the morning with the feeling that something invisible was calling you? It wasn't a noise, it wasn't a nightmare. It was as if something beyond your understanding was urgently waking you up. You look at the clock, 3 m. Exactly, and this starts to repeat itself night after night. Coincidence? Or is there something spiritual behind it? What many people ignore is that this time is not just any old time in the morning. There is a specific ancient and deeply spiritual reason that connects this moment to revelations, invisible battles, and divine messages. What does God want to show you at this exact moment of the night? And more importantly, why is it with you? Why now? The answer goes beyond logic, touches your purpose, and can radically change the way you see life. Waking up at 3 in the morning is not a mistake, it is a calling. And today you will discover exactly what this means. But be careful, after this, you will never sleep the same way again. For centuries, wise men, prophets, and Bible scholars have pointed out that certain times of the night carry profound spiritual meanings. But none of them are as mysterious as 3 a.m. This is when many people report feeling presences, having intense dreams, or waking up with their heart racing as if something is about to happen. It's not just biology, nor a simple sleep cycle. There is a pattern, and if you've been waking up at this time, don't ignore it. This could be God trying to communicate, warn, or even prepare you for something that is coming. God's word is full of instances when he spoke during the night. But why at 3 a.m.? What is the secret hidden at this exact moment? What is the message that heaven is trying to deliver to your spirit? On this journey, we will unravel each symbol, each sign, and you will understand why waking up at this time can be the greatest spiritual gift of your life. The mystery surrounding 3 a.m. goes beyond the simple fact that it is 1 o'clock on the clock. For many, this is the time when the world is in deep silence, when the deepest thoughts come to the surface. Those early mornings when we wake up, suddenly with our hearts racing as if an invisible presence is calling us to a greater purpose. Is this a coincidence? Or is it something more, something divine? Imagine the scenario. You wake up in the middle of the night, not because of a noise or a nightmare, but because something inside you simply wakes up. You feel an inexplicable urge to get out of bed, turn on the light, and start thinking about something that until that moment had been far from your mind, as if a mystery is waiting to be unraveled, and you know that it is not a simple nightmare or a coincidence. There is a strange but powerful feeling that there is something deeper going on. The Bible, on several occasions, describes God as someone who communicates with human beings in mysterious ways. In many biblical accounts, God chooses unexpected times and places to speak to his chosen ones. Moses, for example, received his calling while he was herding sheep in the desert, and Samuel, still a child, was called by God during the night. But it is in the early hours of the morning that the signs become more intense. There are no distractions. The night is silent, and sleep seems to fade away, giving way to a stronger presence. For many, this is a time of revelations. What should we do with these feelings and concerns? The Bible teaches us that the early morning is a time when God's presence becomes more intense. In many verses, we see the prophet David, for example, crying out to God in the early hours of the morning, seeking his guidance and intimacy. He teaches us that the search for God has no time, but that in the silence of the night, our soul becomes more sensitive to the divine call. Have you ever stopped to think that perhaps God is waking you up at this time to reveal something specific to you? Something that you may have ignored over the years? Perhaps what you need to do is not simply go back to sleep, but pay attention to what the Lord wants to tell you in this moment of intimacy. When God wakes someone at 3 a.m., he doesn't do it by accident. It's a divine invitation to hear His voice more clearly, to understand His purpose, and to align our hearts with His will. In some spiritual traditions, the early morning is seen as the most powerful time for prayer and meditation. The absence of distractions, the silence, and the fact that many people are asleep create the perfect environment to connect with something greater than ourselves. God chooses this time because He knows we are most receptive. And often, the most powerful messages come when we least expect them, in moments of vulnerability and silence. The Holy Spirit often moves in ways we cannot immediately understand. The signs can be subtle, like a sudden reminder of something important you need to do, or an urge to change your prayer routine. The difference between those who receive these divine messages and those who simply ignore them is the willingness to listen. Have you been willing to wake up at this time without questioning why and listen to what God has to say? Or do you just turn away, unaware that you are being called to a greater purpose? The moment you feel awake, it can be disconcerting. Your body is still immersed in sleep, but the mind is alert. Many at this moment may wonder whether they should go back to sleep or take the opportunity to pray and meditate. And it is in this moment of decision that you can feel a deep connection with the Lord. How do you behave when this happens? Do you recognize God's invitation, or do you unknowingly let it pass by? What really happens at this moment is beyond human comprehension, but it is a unique opportunity that, if seized, can bring a new direction to your life. There are many reports of people who have come to understand the value of this experience, transforming their lives by changing their attitude towards these callings. When a person starts waking up at 3 a.m., they often feel that something is about to change. Some believe that it is a spiritual transition, a sign that God is about to bring a transformation into their life. The question is, how do you deal with this change? The secret to dealing with this experience is not to despair, but to embrace the silence and peace that comes with it. The solution is not to seek immediate answers, but to trust that God is preparing something important for you. Perhaps the greatest lesson we can learn from these experiences is that true transformation begins when we surrender to the divine plan and set aside our fears and insecurities. This dawn, this awakening, can be a sign that something new is about to happen in your life. God does not awaken anyone without a purpose. The secret is to know how to recognize this moment and trust that He has something great to reveal. God does not need your energy to act. He acts when you are quieter, more receptive. And often He calls us in the silence of the early morning because there, free from any noise or distraction, we are more sensitive to His presence. The call at 3 in the morning is not a coincidence. It is a divine opportunity to renew your spirit, to hear what He has to say, and to transform your life through His word. The question now is, will you answer this call? As time passes and you begin to get used to this 3 in the morning awakening, you may begin to notice that there is a pattern. You wake up with unexpected clarity, as if you were being guided by something greater. But what is the purpose of all this? How do you know if you are really being called by God, or if you are just going through a phase of sleep? The key is reflection and the search for the answer. This awakening can be a divine way of preparing your mind and spirit for something greater, something that you may not have noticed until now. Every time you wake up at this time, not only does silence take over the environment, but your mind also begins to become more attentive to signs that previously went unnoticed. Some may think that this experience of being awakened at 3 a.m. is just a coincidence or a strange routine of the body, but in reality, it is an invitation to deepen your spirituality. Every time you feel this call, you are being led to connect with something much deeper, something that goes beyond the limits of reason and human explanations. 3 a.m. a.m. can be more than just a time of day. It can be the time when the invisible becomes visible, when the divine breaks the veil of routine and allows us to glimpse a future full of purpose and meaning. Have you ever stopped to think that perhaps this is the time to reevaluate your choices? What have you been doing with your life? Are you satisfied with your path, or do you feel that there is more waiting for you? That little awakening in the middle of the night can be the starting point for significant changes. Sometimes the answers to life's deepest questions come not in the heat of the day, but in the silence of the night, when our soul is most open and receptive. It's an invitation to reflect on what really matters, to set aside the noise and distractions of the outside world and listen to the voice within. This is the time to ask yourself, what does God want from me at this time? What does He want to show me? This is the key to awakening, understanding that sometimes God uses the early morning to guide us, to remind us that we are on the right path, or to alert us to something important. Now that you understand the depth and meaning of this divine awakening, perhaps the biggest question that remains is, how can you transform these experiences into something real in your life? How can you use what you experienced at 3 a.m. to change your reality, your way of living? The answer lies in engaging with the purpose that God has for your life. It is not just about waking up and waiting for something to happen, but about actively engaging in this spiritual process. When you wake up, take some time to pray, to connect with the Lord, to ask for wisdom and direction. This time can be used to deepen your prayer life, to begin to better understand the divine messages that have been thrown your way. God does not act without a purpose, and you are not being awakened for nothing. There is something He wants you to know, something He wants you to do. Waking up at 3 a.m. can be an opportunity to reevaluate your life, to review your priorities, to correct paths, or even to start something new. It can be a call to your mission, to something you always knew deep down that you should do, but put off out of fear or insecurity. But the time has come. God wakes you up because He knows you are ready to take the next step. Those who experience this awakening notice, over time, that their lives begin to change. Answers begin to emerge. Solutions to problems that seemed endless begin to manifest. Perhaps what is being revealed is not an immediate solution, but a process of continuous transformation, where you begin to better understand the signs that God has been giving you. Many times, divine answers come little by little, like small pieces of a puzzle that only begin to fit together when you have the courage to take the first step. This transformation does not happen immediately. It takes time, but it is in this process that God begins to work from the inside out. He uses these moments of early morning, these moments of stillness and silence, to prepare your mind and spirit for the great changes that are coming. Perhaps you have already experienced the feeling that something great is about to happen, and perhaps that is exactly what God is telling you at this moment. He is preparing you for something great. Waking up at 3 in the morning is not just a warning, it is a promise that God is with you, guiding your steps, leading your life towards a greater purpose. And now, as you wake up, you have a decision to make. What will you do with this experience? Will you continue to ignore the call, or will you open yourself to the new that awaits you? In that silent dawn, when the city sleeps and the world seems frozen in time, something supernatural happens. You wake up without an alarm, without an explanation. It is exactly 3 in the morning. Your heart races. An invisible weight envelops the environment. It seems ordinary, but it is not. At that moment, there is a divine call echoing in the invisible, a summons direct from heaven. God chooses this time not by chance, but because it is in this profound silence that the soul is most receptive, most vulnerable, most open to the supernatural. While the demons try to act in the darkness, the Holy Spirit steps forward and awakens you to the invisible war. It is in the middle of the night that great deliverances happen, that revelations are given, that destinies are realigned. That restlessness you feel is not insomnia, it is divine intervention. When God wakes you up at 3 in the morning, He is saying, I am here, speak to me, get ready, something big is coming. And that is when everything begins to change. Imagine the sky. In silence, the angels in formation and you on your knees in the middle of the night. The clock strikes exactly 3 o'clock, and at that moment, the spiritual environment transforms. God has woken you up, and now He speaks. Not with thunder or lightning, but with a peace that invades your chest, a conviction that cannot be explained in words. You realize that discomfort was, in fact, an urgent call, a deliverance that has been released, a loved one who was spared, a battle that was won in the invisible. In that instant, everything inside you changes. Fear turns into courage, doubt into faith, heaviness into relief. You feel that something has been broken. The chains have been broken. The doors are opening. It is as if the entire heavens are conspiring in your favor. And all this because you obeyed. You listened. You stood up. And now, nothing will ever be the same again. But what if I told you that this 3 a.m. awakening isn't just a calling from God to you? What if it's also a revelation about something that's about to happen in your life? There's a secret hidden behind this time that many people ignore. Something that, when understood, can position you spiritually to experience the supernatural in a way that few others experience. There's a direct connection between this time and the great movements of God throughout history. Prophets, kings, and even Jesus Himself experienced crucial moments during this same period. But why? What's so special about this time? What's the secret that the spiritual world doesn't want you to discover? Get ready, because what comes next could unlock answers that you've been searching for your entire life, and completely change the way you face each sleepless night. Now that you understand the spiritual meaning behind this 3 a.m. awakening, you can no longer see it as a simple coincidence. God is calling you, not to scare you, but to align you, to reposition you. It is at this time that the barriers of the invisible become more fragile and heaven comes closer to earth. It is at this moment that you are separated from the noise of the world to hear the whisper of God. To ignore this call is to waste a golden opportunity, but to accept it is to walk towards a life with purpose, clarity, and direction. This is the time when the ordinary meets the extraordinary, when your routine intersects with the supernatural movement. And now that you know, what are you going to do the next time you wake up at 3 in the morning? Have you ever caught yourself thinking that something much bigger is happening while you are awake at this strange time? This experience is not a coincidence. It is a direct invitation from God for you to break with the patterns of everyday life and listen to His calling. Perhaps until now you have seen these early mornings as interruptions, but they are, in fact, moments of preparation for what is to come. Each time you wake up, know that it is not only your body that is being called, but your soul. As you reflect on this experience, think, what can you learn from this profound silence? What transformations can your life undergo by simply paying attention to these signs? This is not a message to be ignored. The key to transformation often lies in the things that seem simplest to us, but which carry the greatest meaning. Now, the choice is yours. Are you ready to embark on this journey?